Greetings, everyone. How are you today? My name is David Hewlett, better known to most as David Jonathan, and today is International Women's Day, and I am very excited for that. I am honored that I've had the opportunity to share who inspires me, and the person that most inspires me seems kind of cliche, but it is my mom, Susan Hewlett. My mom, Susan Hewlett, has spent the last 30 years working for the state of New York in the United States of America as a pharmacy oncology technician. Not only was she the first African American oncology technician in the state of New York, but she is also she was making Black history there, but then she's making world history, because now you get to use this stage to talk about her on International Women's Day. So my mom has worked tirelessly for the state of New York for 30 years. She retired recently, and now I'm getting to enjoy her retirement. But my mom would go the extra mile in her job, and she would go see about some of the patients whose chemo medication she would make on a daily basis for cancer patients. So my mom has single-handedly been involved in the process of saving a lot of lives, and getting to pour into and speak to a lot of people who had sometimes no hope that tomorrow could be a better day, or that they would even make it to tomorrow. So watching my mom work in that aspect has always inspired me as a person, as a musician, and beyond just her being such a great person in that area, she's also a phenomenal poet. She's also a phenomenal painter, and feels things very deeply. She's a very empathic individual, and I'm just very honored that I'm able to take this time today and honor my mother, Susan Hewlett, on today, International Women's Day. My mom took her paychecks that she would work very hard for and help pour into my music career. And that helped me start in drums, excuse me, in drums and many other instruments that I would end up developing to play, and really developed who I became and who I am now today. So thank you guys so much for honoring and acknowledging Susan Hewlett and International Women's Day. Hopefully one of these days you'll get to meet my mom, and I look forward to it.
Next week is International Women's Week, and I've been asked to put together, or men have been asked to put together, women who inspire them, who really inspire them, who makes them what they are, and how they are what they are. This woman who inspires me, she inspires me with her strength, her resilience, how she can give everything 110%, even if she's got 4 or 5 things on the go, which are not uncommon. This woman shows me resilience. This woman shows me her inner beauty. She shows me what real passion is and what real beliefs are. I've watched her change from just being, or not just being, this person can't just be one thing, from being a writer, a journalist, and having to take stock, and with that changing her whole perception on what she does, finding new skills in the face of everything that could possibly be thrown against her. She doesn't give in. She's relentless in her task. She inspires me in her beliefs and the way she sticks by her guns. Sometimes she might be right, and most of the time she is right. Sometimes she may be wrong, and she's happy to swallow that and move on. She inspires me in ways which I can't describe. They're incredible. The way she just gets on with life, the way she picks herself up, the way she picks me up even if she's feeling down. I've never been inspired by many people over my life. I've always followed my own path and done my own thing. Anyone that knows me will be able to tell you that. But over the last 5 or 6 years, this woman has showed me a real strength of character, of how she will persevere and do things her way, which is sometimes different to how I would do them. But nevertheless, she's normally pretty right in what she does. I find her inspiration how she can just push on with life in the job that she's now doing, which is very difficult, both mentally and physically, demanding on every aspect, or demanding in every aspect. She shows strength of character, and she is my wife, and she is Amelia Yardley Hyde.
Un bambino, un insegnante, un libro e una penna possono cambiare il mondo. Ciao a tutti, sono Frederico Malaman e sono un musicista italiano. La frase che avete appena sentito è di Malala. Malala è una ragazza pakistana che ha rischiato la vita pur di difendere i propri diritti allo studio, pur di difendere i diritti alla pace, il diritto di libertà, i diritti delle donne. Insomma, una ragazza che ha agito da eroe. Le hanno sparato ma non è morta. In compenso ha vinto il premio Nobel per la pace. Lei mi ricorda moltissimo un altro gigante, un'altra donna nata nel 1870, italiana, dal nome Maria Montessori. Un'altra donna altrettanto straordinaria che anch'ella ha combattuto per l'istruzione, per il diritto all'istruzione e i diritti delle donne, per la prevenzione alla miseria, la prevenzione all'ignoranza. Cosa potrei dire se non grazie a queste donne straordinarie?
Hi, this is Darrell Craig Harris from Las Vegas, and I'm here in my virtual studio. I'm a good friend of Fiona's, and she asked me to make a video and talk about women that inspired me. And actually, I chose Fiona. I know she might not. That might have been on her agenda, but yeah, it's true because actually, Fiona I've known for some years now. We first met in London and doing an interview and chatting live on Facebook. And I just have so much admiration for her because she has managed to create quite a dynamic career for herself, not only as a journalist, but as a jazz artist, composer, producer. And along the way, she's actually brought along many other great, talented folks, both men and women, and is certainly an inspiration to all those people and to me, and what you find in this world is it's rare to see people that actually, have a dream and they actually take concrete actions and steps to make the dream happen. And that's something that she's done, which I really admire very much. And, meanwhile, also raising two great sons and, just really a great, overall great life. And so I really admire that. And I think there's so many young women that can use idols like that or use mentors, I should say, that can really inspire them and not only inspire them, but show them the way to do it. And somebody who goes out of their way to feature other people, to uplift other people, to uplift other, budding creatives and writers, which is something that she's just been recently doing. So yeah, I pick Fiona, and I know she'll laugh when she sees this, but I think it's very true and it's appropriate. So, thank you very much, and I'm just at my place here in Las Vegas doing my little podcasting thing. So, I wish everybody a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, this is Carl speaking to you on International Women's Day, March the 8th, 2021. The inspiring woman I'm going to talk to you about is bassist, songwriter and singer Michelle Ndegeocello. Michelle has always impressed me as an artist of the highest order, a true original with a unique approach to music. I first noticed her in an advert in a music magazine in 1995, a ferocious, shaven-headed black woman who looked like she had something to prove. She was advertised as being the first artist signed to Madonna's Maverick record label, so I assumed she was too commercial for my tastes. However, this was to be decisively disproven shortly afterwards when I was in a cafe and I was stunned to hear what seemed to be the funkiest music I'd ever heard. It was the song Diggin' You Like an Old Soul record from her album Plantation Lullabies. The bass line was simple and memorable, the drums were super precise and in the pocket, complemented by luxuriant jazz harmony on electric piano, a soft, sexy synth line that floated languorously above the hard groove, and a sweet, clear female voice singing with great conviction in a modest, unshowy way. I just knew it was the woman whose photo I'd seen in the magazine a few weeks before. A few more songs from the album played as I sat there. It was a mixture of hip-hop, rap and soul with a nice take on jazz harmony with catchy melodies and the occasional unexpected note that shone a surreal light on the chords. And as a bonus, a couple of dazzling guitar solos from David Fuczynski. Some of the lyrics were a little confronting, like, "If that's your boyfriend, he wasn't last night," which kind of took my breath away, but I assumed she was just trying to get my attention. Well, she had it. I quickly became a fan and over the years bought one album after the other. Michelle has always struck me an artist who carved out her own unique place in music, but is firmly based in tradition. The tradition of black American music, specifically soul and funk, as vindicated by her prominent appearances in the film Standing in the Shadows of Motown. However, her scope is broader than that. I listened to one album after the other, her Peace Beyond Passion album being a particular favourite, which I listened to dozens of times. A real feast of music, a great collection of songs covering a wide variety of moods and subjects from romance to jealousy to religious moralizing. It featured funky bass, funky drums, funky guitars, furious Hendrixy rocking guitars, wild saxophone solos from Joshua Redman, angelic vocal harmonies, lush Rhodes piano chords, pithy little synth lines and luxurious strings, and even a touch of my friend Benny Maupin's famous bass clarinet lurking in there somewhere. When I asked Benny what was she like, he just lit up with the brightest of Buddhist smiles and said that session was one of the most enjoyable days of my life. She and all the people in the studio treated me like a VIP. The image of her as an unapproachable, intimidating woman was beginning to crumble. The next album I listened to a lot was Cookie, the Anthropological Mixtape, a hip-hop album talking about the social problems black Americans face. It makes compellingly funky use of sampling and rapping. Bitter is a quiet, reflective album in the acoustic guitar-wielding singer-songwriter genre. Comfort Woman album explores a kind of surreal approach to reggae with shades of hip-hop and rock, aided by the endlessly entertaining drumming of Chris Dave. Dance of the Infidel is a hardcore jazz album with a cast of heavyweights including Jack DeJohnette, Wallace Roney and Kenny Garrett. And the last album I really listened to intently was The World Has Made Me, The Man of My Dreams, which includes a kind of surreal punk rock song with Michelle talking about Islamic extremism in a Cockney accent. And there's a heartbreaking duet with Malian superstar Umu Sangare and Pat Metheny's poignant acoustic guitar. Michelle doesn't mind stepping out of the spotlight to allow other singers to show their distinctive talents, and apart from Umu Sangare, she has also featured great singers of the likes of Layla Hathaway, Cassandra Wilson and Karen Wheeler, as well as dazzling performances from rappers Missy Elliott and Talib Kweli. She's even featured other bassists, including Matthew Garrison and Jonathan Maran, whom I met briefly through a mutual friend many years ago. He told me about his audition with Michelle. She said, "You're pretty funky for a white guy," to which he replied, "You're pretty funky for a girl." Apparently she liked this witty comeback and gave him the gig. In recent years, she has been playing a kind of minimalistic indie rock. I finally got to see her playing live about 10 years, and this was what she was doing, with the distinctive and imaginative textures of Chris Bruce's guitar, providing a fascinating foil to Michelle's voice and bass. All the showbiz stuff was gone, the running around the stage, the ferocious slap bass solos. The presentation was intimate and minimal, and the band played quietly with great focus. It was a very engrossing experience. I had the pleasure of playing support for Michelle about 6 years ago at Ronnie Scott's for a couple of nights. When I went backstage after my first set on the first night, she saw me and said, "Mr. Orr, would you like to join us for a glass of wine?" I was pleasantly stunned and sat and happily chatted with her for about half an hour. I found her highly intelligent, funny, gentle, and a good listener. Completely humble, lacking any sense of being big time or superior. At the end of her set, she lavishly complimented me and my music in her final announcements, which really took me by surprise. The reason I chose Michelle Ndegaya cello is because she's an artist of the highest order and a woman of great warmth, courage and integrity. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, women of the world.
Hi there, I'm Mike Cipher, professional drummer from Cheltenham, and I've been asked to talk for 5 minutes or so about a woman that has really inspired me as part of International Women's Day. I think it's fair to say that there are many women that have influenced and inspired me throughout my lifetime, but there's one person that absolutely stands out for me, and that is Kim Cipher, my wife, my soulmate, and my best friend. So, why does Kim inspire me? Well, ever since I've known Kim, which is quite a few years now, she has always been an extremely creative person, and she's always looking for new projects, and she absolutely thrives on new exciting opportunities. There are many examples that I could share with you, but one in particular that really stands out is the production of an audio track and accompanying video called All For You. The track and the video was called All For You as it was dedicated to Kim's late mum, who was a real inspiration to Kim. Now, with all of Kim's projects, they start out as something quite small and build as Kim's enthusiasm, let's say, takes over, and they end up being something really quite spectacular and amazing. All For You started out as a jazz vocal number written for a quintet, but then Kim said, I can hear a clarinet, I can hear a trombone, I can hear a trumpet, I can hear a honky-tonk piano, and before we knew it, the song just built and built and built, and then Kim said, well, I can see it being played in a procession, and if you can imagine, the tune ended up something looking a bit like this. So once we got down the audio track for All For You, Kim said, I've got another idea. And this time it was for a video to accompany the audio track. But it wasn't going to be any video. Kim said, I want to do the video in animation. So Kim went about putting down a storyboard with everything that she wanted included in the video, but in animation form. Then we had to find somebody that could actually then put all Kim's ideas and her vision into animation, which is quite a difficult task. We were fortunate enough to know of an absolutely superb up-and-coming animator stroke artist called Martina Sabadas, who really was able to put Kim's vision into an animated video. Once the video had been completed, Kim said, "I've got another fantastic idea. Wouldn't it be great to perform All For You, but with a full brass section at a live gig?" Well, shortly afterwards, we were offered a gig at the Pizza Express in Soho, London on the 2nd of March last year. And this coincided with the 20th anniversary of Kim's mum's passing. And so we decided it would be an absolutely brilliant opportunity to perform All For You live for the first time at that gig. Kim booked a fantastic band of musicians, including jazz giant Ray Gelato and other special guests, including Ian Bateman and Enrico Tommaso. Kim also decided that she would like all proceeds of the gig donated to charity in memory of her mum, and this was part of the For Mum project. The gig was a huge success and raised over £2,500 for the brain tumour charity, and this really demonstrates how Kim takes an idea and really brings it to life in a big way. With Kim, anything is possible, and she consistently demonstrates that something really quite small can build and build and build into something really quite spectacular. Everything Kim does is centred around bringing happiness to people and celebrating life. I also really admire Kim's incredible resilience. Often things don't go to plan with projects or there's setbacks, but Kim always finds a way round things to make sure that she succeeds. I have learnt so much from Kim, and her inspiration, passion and determination has helped me to overcome challenges both in my own life and in music. I am very proud and grateful. Thank you, Kim.
Hello, Nigel J here from Music Tribes Unite and various other elements that I've been involved with and titles in the jazz world. Women in Jazz Media, who I support, asked me if I'd pick a lady and a woman that inspired me in the jazz industry. There are lots of them. There are lots of them in various things that I've been in communications with people. I've really learnt a lot, and I continue to do so, but I have to pick one. I never met Shirley Horn, but she's my choice to be somebody that's inspired me in how to tell a story with great emotion and tension as an artist. I don't see her as an entertainer, I see her as a true artist. And her voice, her expression, supported by a piano playing, is really fantastic as far as I'm concerned. As I would say, she's a musical bard, a jazz musical bard. I recommend that you really focus on listening to some of her music. Shirley Horn married fairly early, and she's quoted as saying that when she had her first son, she left the industry for 20-25 years and was as happy playing a piano, singing a song, cooking a meal, banging a nail in a wall. She said she was always happy in all of those roles. And she therefore exemplifies a person who not only was doing the most important job in the world, which is motherhood, but she also went on to be an extremely fantastic artist the first time in her career and when she brought her career back again. There are particular songs that I love in the way that they're told. Her version of The Secret of Christmas, originally sung by Bing Crosby, her song or her interpretation of Here's to Life is really real worthwhile going to find it on YouTube. So there you have it. Shirley Horn to me exemplifies a woman that has been famous, was recognised by Miles Davis as a particularly specially gifted singer and pianist, created in fact that tension that he talked about, that he so loved and did himself with the trumpet. So he recognised that, went away and was very, very loving to her child, bringing him up, and then again launched her career for a second time and became even more famous, and quite rightly so. I hope that you have an opportunity to look up Shirley Horn on the internet if you haven't already, and grab some of her music off Spotify, download it, whatever you might do. So, enjoy.
Hello, my name is Bernard Maseli. I'm a musician. I'm jazz musician. I'm a guy who is playing on vibraphone, as you see. I'm sitting here in my hotel room with the sticks. I was just practicing. But now I want to tell you something about the lady who inspires me a lot. Actually, from the beginning, I was sure that she's a special person. I met her about 35 years ago. She was a classical singer, and she was singing in a musical theater. It was thanks to her that I had the opportunity to get to know all these famous titles from Broadway, such as Jesus Christ Superstar, Fiddler on the Roof, or Les Miserables, and others. But the most important comes much, much later. About 10 years ago, she started to work with Worldwide Fund for Nature, and then everything has changed in her life, and I could observe it. That was something to watch, how quickly she gets knowledge about nature, how quickly she develops, how she's doing in a completely different habitat, and how she's able to cross her comfort borders. You have to know that not everything at work with animals and Mother Nature is just pleasure and so nice. Sometimes you have to talk to people who are doing some crazy things in, for example, national park, and they doesn't really want even listen to you. Sometimes it is just simply dirty work. Dirty. When I saw her for the first time dealing with big dead seal, man, I was asking myself, is really the same soft, gentle, little beautiful lady I know? Remember that she was a classical singer in the past. She has changed. She's a strong woman now with a great knowledge, and she's constantly evolving. Just because of her, now I know my place, the place I'm living, and I tell you that I'm looking at it now in totally different way. She inspires me so much, and she shows me that it's possible to keep the fresh mind all the time, all the time. I'm 55 now. I didn't tell you who is she, so she's my wife. She's my hero. She's my warrior. And you know what? She has a birthday coming Tuesday. So happy birthday, Barbara. And save the world. And forgive me my English. Bye.
One woman that inspires me is Ruth Rogers, who founded The Canvas, which is a vegan cafe, community hub and creative space in Brick Lane in the east of London, which helps its local community in so many ways. And I think she's a really inspiring person because not only does she run this amazing place that helps people in her local community, she also has a family that she is raising with kids and has persevered through the pandemic, and she's just also a really nice person. I've never had a conversation with her where she doesn't make me smile. She genuinely has something about her that, that genuine drive to want to help people, and I think that really inspires me. So keep up the good work, and thank you, Ruth.
Hi, my name is Tomasz Bura. I'm a pianist and a composer. In my life, I had 5 piano teachers, and all of them were women. So you can just imagine that pretty much everything I know about this instrument and the way I understand the emotions in music, it all comes from women's hearts and women's minds. But today, I would like to focus specifically on one of them. Her name was Christina Moshenska. When I joined her class, I was 14 years old. My parents were just separating, and I became quite a rebellious young guy. Becoming her student was quite a miracle, and she changed my life. She was a genius teacher. Her knowledge about the piano, about music, technique was just unbelievable. And it was extremely inspiring to be around her because her personality was so strong. She was so unique. Her energy, passion, and intelligence was just unbelievable. I was very proud to be her student at the time. But apart from being genius teacher, she was also a life mentor, and she became a mother figure for me. I cannot imagine not having this person in my life, as even today, when I have some questions, when I practice the piano, or I feel a little low in my life, I think of her. I think of what would she say, what would be her advice for me, because I knew she always wanted good for me. She always cared for me and every other student she had. She created a little community of her students. We all supported each other, and she was at the center of this. We all had extreme respect towards her, and unfortunately she died just a year before I graduated my music school. But all the knowledge she gave me, all the wisdom I received from her will never disappear from my heart and will be always with me. So I would like to nominate her as one of the most incredible women that ever existed in this world. Christina Moshenska was her name.
I'd like to talk today about a woman who has made huge impact in a very, very quiet way in the music industry, and her name is Mandy Parnell. She works in her own studio in East London called Black Saloon, and she has done for around 15 or 20 years. She started off in a far, far smaller studio working for someone else for many, many years down the West End. And it was at this studio that I first met her, probably nearly 40 years ago. To become a mastering engineer anywhere in the world is difficult. It requires a lot of concentration. It requires really, really intense Catholic taste. You have to be able to deal with clients from all manner of musical backgrounds, and you have to be able to make their music come out at the end of the mastering process as well as anything else. That's very difficult to do. And something which I recognize working with Mandy from time to time is that she uses a huge amount of psychology to work out just how well the client knows their music. I'll give you an example. When you go to Mandy's studio, invariably start around 10 o'clock in the morning. You pitch up, there's always great coffee, good conversation. We catch up with news, catch up with news of friends, etc., etc. I had Joplin Parnell, Mandy's son, as one of my students for a few years. So that's another connection that we have. Anyway, after the coffee is served and we proceed to the next stage of the mastering, there's a general conversation, hubbub, while Mandy gets the desk in order and gets the levels up, and without realizing it, she's sussing you out. She's working out, what's this project about? Now this is something which takes time. It's something which she has really, really got down to a fine art. But the most important aspect is, at the end of the day, you come out with something which you really like. And people who work in mastering very, very rarely get the gongs. They very, very rarely get the recognition of the work that they do. But Mandy's work consistently over the years has been incredibly, incredibly good. And it's not that she works with rock stars the whole time. In fact, if you look at her track record, she has worked with so many people at the beginning of their career. So that type of supportive, nurturing role is not something which comes easy. Mandy comes from a family, her mum was, I think, the mayor of Barking, so she's come from a family who are hard-working people, and she basically broke the mold by being one of the very, very few female mastering engineers in the West End in the 80s. At a time when there are great changes in the music industry, at a time when the whole issue of the role of the musician in society, and at a time when we are looking at the behavior of various aspects of the music industry vis-a-vis what is socially acceptable, we actually have to look at how someone like Mandy has led the way, has been a role model, has broken glass ceilings, and more importantly, has been herself. So I nominate Mandy Parnell for you to check out as someone who is a beacon of a great human being.
Somebody that really inspires me, I really see her as a complete inspiration, is Ellen Indigo Barnes. Ellen Indigo Barnes. Why? Because she's a person of action. She doesn't think herself out of good ideas that she gets. Like she can think of something in the wildest imagination, and then she'll just pursue it. No matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult it is for her, she'll just do it without any second thought. This is one of my problems in life. You know, some of us, we think too much, and that can be as positive as it could be. It can also be really quite detrimental to actually moving forward. She never stops moving forward. Let me give you an example. In the past year, during this global pandemic that's engulfed everybody's lives and pulled the rugs from everybody's feet, she has become a rock saxophonist from having been a classical clarinetist. She has joined 2 new rock bands in a country completely foreign to her, here in Spain. She has joined a theatre production and got the part acting in a touring theatre production sponsored by the government about a play to do with the pandemic and COVID. She has become a model. She started going into modelling and become a model, where she's now getting contacted by many different photographers via Instagram and social media who want to work with her. And she started writing poetry and translating lyrics into other languages as well, from Portuguese into English and vice versa, Portuguese and Spanish. And she's completely self-reliant, completely self-taught, and she feeds off life in the most beautiful way. She feeds off life in the most uniquely beautiful and innocent, yet at the same time the right way, where she just has a thought, has a dream, and doesn't think twice. She goes for it. And yeah, she'll get knocked down or she'll have moments of adversity, but she'll just go through it. Another thing she's done this past year, she likes cycling, and she's also a triathlete. She's also a triathlete. What she did this past year, I'm talking about the last 12 months, is in the middle of summer here in Spain. She did a bike tour. That took her like 4 days in the blinding heat of this country, racing against daylight over the mountains, through the plains of Spain, stopping here, stopping there. Just her, a bag and a bike. That's it, and the open road. She did that. That inspired me so much. I wrote a piece of music for her. And this is the person that she is. She's just this non-stop person who never ever stops to think, to talk herself out of something, and continuously goes for it. That's why I'm incredibly inspired by that person. She's amazing. She's really amazing, and she's an example. Ellen Indigo Barnes. Yeah, I'm quite lucky to know her. I'm very lucky to know her.
So I'd like to nominate 3 political figures for National Women's Day. The first is Barbara Castle, who was minister during Wilson's cabinet, both in the 60s and 70s. An extraordinary and formidable intellect. For me, one of her greatest far-reaching insights was her piece of legislation on a thing called In Place of Strife, which, had it been enacted, would have probably reduced an awful lot of the problems with the trades union movement in the 1970s, which would have meant that we wouldn't have ended up with Margaret Thatcher. And I think that would have been a very good thing, given that I think that aside from the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, pursuing the Open University, and a slightly informed opinion about global warming, I think Margaret Thatcher was essentially the worst Prime Minister we've ever had. So I would have been very grateful if Barbara Castle's work on the trades union relationship with government had been advanced, because it would have spared us Margaret Thatcher and all the terrible repercussions that had. Shirley Williams is also deserving of enormous respect. Again, formidable intellect, had more impact on the political system in this country than people realise, and of course was involved in creating the SDP, and certainly deserves more consideration than she gets, I think, from a lot of people, certainly of today's generation, who probably don't even know who she is. And I think also Angela Merkel deserves enormous kudos for being about the only sane political leader during the last 10 years. We've had some real zeros in political terms throughout the world. Essentially, well, they've all been male, and they've all been, for the most part, incredibly unpleasant and mostly stupid. You know, Trump, Bolsonaro, Orban, Sisi in Egypt, Netanyahu, who sticks to his political situation like glue, and, you know, I'm not going to mention the people in this country who hardly deserve a great deal of recognition, in my opinion, other than from a point of view of being derided. So, frankly, Angela Merkel, who is not a perfect politician, but she's been pretty incredible, is very incredibly bright, has been incredibly important for the development of Germany and its success economically and so on, and is a genuine person who has the commitment to ideals of peace and has wanted to see the world improve in a way that I think is something we could all wish from all politicians. So I think those are three women I'd like to nominate for candidature for World's Women's Day: Barbara Castle, Shirley Williams and Angela Merkel. There are, of course, many brilliant women throughout the world that deserve a lot of respect. Some who are quite controversial, like Benazir Bhutto and Indira Gandhi, who I still think were remarkable, if controversial. Many amazing female politicians in the American political scene from the 80s and 70s and so on, but I've chosen those three women. So, yeah, thank you.
My name is Ola Onabule. I'm a singer-songwriter, and it's a huge honour to have been asked by Women in Jazz Media to speak about my favourite female jazz artist. What an incredibly difficult question to try to answer, to try to name one jazz musician of the female disposition to choose above all else when I absolutely admire so many. I'm a singer, and so I would be starting with a list that would include Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, Sinne Eeg, who's a Danish jazz musician, Jasmea Horn, of course, amazing greats like Diane Reeves and Dee Dee Bridgewater would be on a list. There's a young lady that I only recently discovered who's just blown my mind, called Veronica Swift. She would be on the list. And they're great instrumentalists. Miss TLC herself, Miss Terry Lynn Carrington, would definitely be on the list. Camille Thurman, who's just outrageously good, would be on the list. Our own Zoe Rahman would be on the list. So it's an almost impossible choice to make. But one that I'm forced to make, so I have to make one. And because I can't choose any one of our contemporary artists, because it would be unfair to whoever I didn't choose. I couldn't live with that, and it's wrong of you to make me do that. But because I couldn't do that, I decided that maybe my favorite jazz artist, or who also happens to be a woman, would probably be someone who, like me, is a singer-songwriter, but also so a singer-songwriter in this genre, which is a genre that typically, generally, especially for us singers, concerns itself with reinterpreting classic works, the standards. But this person writes their own original material, or wrote their own original material, but also something that I aspire to, which this person did with exceptional skill and class and panache, was write songs of protest, or songs with a social conscience that describe the era that she was in. And she famously made a statement that if you're an artist who doesn't document the era you're working in, then she found that a bit troublesome. And that person is, you probably would have guessed by now, is Nina Simone. She speaks to me on so many levels. Her instrumental prowess is legendary. Her ability to express ideas, thoughts, and emotion, whilst at the same time making sure that a searing, powerful message reaches the heart of the listener, is also legendary and phenomenal. and she probably will be my woman jazz artist of all time. But I remind you, having said that I also gave you a long, lengthy, comprehensive list at the beginning of this whole thing. And any one of those people, I would absolutely, I absolutely admire and would include on any list, but I'm only allowed to say one person. So anyway, happy Women's International Day to everyone out there who is a woman, knows a woman, loves a woman, cares for a woman, or is raising women. And thanks for asking me to do this once again. Real honor. Peace.